to the Bethany Experience. Bethany Baptist Church of Brooklyn, New York is an extraordinary spiritual rock and refuge located in the heart of Bedford-Stuyvesant in Brooklyn, New York at 460 Marcus Garvey Boulevard between Decatur and McDonough Streets. Our vision is to engage in relevant ministry that empowers individuals and responds to the needs of the diverse community in which we live. In addition to benefiting from this weekly telecast, you are invited to join us in worship at Bethany each Sunday at both the 8 and 11 a.m. services. For additional information, please call the church office at 718-455-8400.
Lukewarm is good for nothing. So here we begin to see Peter has the wrong image of himself, but worstly, he has a wrong image of the enemy. We know that Jesus told Peter, Simon, Simon, Satan has asked to sift all of you as wheat. But I have prayed for you, Simon, that your faith may not fail. But he replied, Lord, I am ready to go with you to prison and to death. Jesus answered, I tell you, before the rooster crows to you, you will deny me 3 times. See, in other words, Satan, he underestimated Satan. You know, the devil is real. Let me tell you what, the devil is real. And the devil, don't think that he gonna let you do what you're supposed to do without him having his say. Let me blow something in your mind about the devil. You believe the devil's real? Now let me tell you this. The devil cannot attack you without God's permission. Wow. So what that means is when the devil is attacking you, God has granted him permission. That's what he said. He said, Simon, 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 called his name 3 times, setting it up. Do you know that the devil, the Satan, has asked for permission to sift all of you? But I prayed for you that when you fail, watch this, you will be restored that you might strengthen others. In other words, he says Satan is going to sift you, and I'm going to let him do it because I'm going to restore you. And when you are restored, you're going to be able to bless somebody else. Oh my God, I'm just telling you what the word says. Do you know people don't wake up wanting to destroy themselves, destroy their marriage, destroy their children, but Satan has asked for plans to destroy that marriage, to destroy that relationship, and God lets it happen. Why? So he can strengthen you, so that when you are strengthened, you can restore those. You didn't ask to be in an abusive relationship, but since you overcome, you can witness and help those who've been through it before. You didn't ask to go through bankruptcy, but since you've been through it, you can strengthen somebody else who's going through it. You can't talk what you don't know. You can't teach what you don't know. You can't lead where you don't go. Say, yeah, a wrong fire is where you have a wrong perspective of yourself and that of the enemy. Secondly, a wrong fire has wrong people. Wrong people. Birds of a feather. See, watch this. Then seizing him, they led him away and took him in the house of the high priest. Peter followed from a distance. And when some there had kindled a fire in the middle of the courtyard, he sat down together with them. There is an aspect that's taking place here, is that Peter is not alone, but he's with the wrong people. And I dare say, one of the failures of our own growth is hanging around wrong people. If you think about it, many things that you are ashamed to do, or ashamed to admit, you typically did when you were with the wrong crowd. And it just might have been you and somebody else. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. So you better say amen before I make you say it. Yeah, see, you hang around the wrong people. I mean, you didn't decide to wake up and carry marijuana in your purse or in your jacket, but you know who did. And when you wanted it, you wanted to hang out with them. Well, some of y'all going to Colorado now, right? But think about that. Is that when you hang around the wrong people, it affects your praise. Can I teach? I'm still teaching. Sometimes in worship, you sit next to some nasty people. They're nasty people. They're nasty people in church that talk about people in church. You know, and you hear them talking. So you can't hear the preacher preach or the choir sing because they're talking about people. And then not only do they talk about people, they just have to have that candy wrapper that just can't get open. Y'all know making all that, y'all know what I'm talking about. That can't just it won't open. You know? And watch this. And when you're with them, they affect your worship. Because you can't focus. So you're now brooding, you're getting mad because somebody next to you, and I keep telling you, you are so intent on sitting in that section, you can sit anywhere in the church. And every now and then, you need to get up and move to a place where you will be with some people that are on fire with the Lord. But you want to be just as stubborn as them. I've been here all my life. I am not moving. And therefore your praise is affected. I mean, that was what's wrong. Peter followed from a distance. As he followed from a distance, he found himself surrounded by the wrong people. But watch this. There's the wrong perspective. He thought too highly of himself. He thought too lowly of the devil. And then he hung out with the wrong people. You need to be, iron sharpens iron. Oh, y'all didn't hear what I'm saying. Iron sharpens iron. In other words, I say, I do not want to be the smartest person in the room. I like to be the manager to be able to see what you have to say about the situation. What do you have to say about the situation? I want to be around people that are surrounded. I want to be with people that are smarter than me, that are stronger than me. Do you know what happens when I go out to people that got more money than me? They pay for the meal. I like to be with people that got more than me. I don't want to be the richest one, the smartest one, the tallest one. You know, that's them superhero complexes. You know, it's like, wow, you always got to be the good guy. No. So you want to hang around people that are like you. But then there was a wrong posture. There was a wrong posture. Now this is I'm about to teach you. This is called a progression. Progression. The wrong posture is the progression. And this is why I'm leaving. Watch this. When you hang around the wrong people, you end up sitting with them. Y'all missed it. Peter followed from a distance. So he watched the fire. He was near them. He was near enough that he did what? He sat down with them. Psalmist tells us in Psalm 1, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. Okay, watch this. That's a progression. Do you see it? I'm walking, following from a distance, but they stop. So now I stand. So now I'm standing there. It's cold. Jesus can't see me anyway. So then he sits. Y'all don't see it yet. See, he didn't plan to go and sit down in it, but the circumstances led him to that. See, when you're with the wrong people, you end up doing the wrong things. That's the progression of what Peter did. We begin to see he therefore had the wrong posture. Means that we worship God in spirit and in truth. In other words, the spirit is our attitude. You know, attitude matters. I know some of y'all believe you old enough to tell people your mind. No, you're really not. You're never that old. You're not. And then, they that must worship God in spirit and in truth. And the truth is right action. That means it ain't good enough just to talk a good game. You must be willing to live it out. So Peter got reminded of that situation. And there he does. It was just cold. If it wasn't cold and they didn't have a fire, Peter wouldn't be there. Oh, that's deep. Y'all missed it. Because you want to judge people. What happened was I needed the money. That's why I was there. Then it happened. You hear what I'm saying? It wasn't intentional. It wasn't designed. He wanted to see what was going to happen to Jesus. And there were people there. I wasn't trying to hang out with them, but it was cold. So I decided to sit down. But once she sat down, I said, hey, ain't you one of them disciples? Now here's your point. When somebody sees the light in you, what is your response? Do we want to have the real bold Peter or now be the timid Peter? Because the bold Peter would have left. Because watch this, that's what we ought to do. We ought to flee from temptation. Oh, y'all missed my point. Remember when Joseph was being tempted, he didn't walk out of the house, he ran out of the house. You flee from, see, some of us, we gingerly leave temptation just thinking about it. Should I go? Should I stay? You better run. But he didn't. He stayed there and denied it. That's often what we try to do. We want to deny ourselves to God. We pretend like we ain't Christians. Pretend like we ain't ministers or deacons. We don't want people to know in that situation. We don't want people to know that I am a trustee in the church. You sit there and you're getting in a barber shop. People don't even know you saved. Ain't that something? They talking about God and the church and all that stuff at the hairdresser. You know that gossip at the hairdresser. Come on. Hairdresser and barber shop. Then you can find out what's going on. And what you do is some of us just go to listen. So you know they're going to stop talking if you don't let them know who you are. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. That's the truth. And watch this, it's a time for us to be able to say something. It'd be true, it'd be awesome if somebody was saying something discouraging about any church and you were able to check them. Because what happens, watch this, when I go into the barber shop, I change it. They said, no, Reverend Lacey's here, don't talk like that. You know what I'm saying? They don't do this N word, the B word. No, you don't come in there, not while I'm in the chair and it ain't my barber shop. I'm able to change the situation. But many of us will pretend it ain't my shop, it's not my children, so therefore I don't say anything. But yet you are the first one who've been of a generation that know you didn't belong to your mama, you belong to the community because we recognize it took a village to raise a child. We afraid to say something to this child. 9 years old, can curse like a sailor. He can teach me how to curse. I'm like, okay, wait, he said, you gotta put your back in it, you know. But it starts by being in the wrong place. And let me tell you this progression starts as a choice. I used to get my hair cut in Mount Vernon. I still do. I go to a new barbershop. I went to a barbershop that was drug infested. They would sell drugs. And when you get in a nasty culture, they had pariahs, little fish. And they would then take rats and put them in and watch it. I said, I got out of the chair halfway with my haircut. I said, I'm not doing this. I wasn't even, my wife just now, she looked like, wow, yeah. I didn't tell her why I switched. I said, I ain't going to, because snitches get stitches, but I just said, I ain't going there no more. I need me a new barbershop. I really did. I'm like, wow, and it's great. And let me tell you this, shortly after I left, somebody got shot in there. That's what I want to point out to you. Sometimes you got to watch where you are. It's not by accident. So watch this. If there is anointing and favor and grace is in the house, do you know if it works negatively, it can work positively? There's somebody just walking around trying to see what's going on. Then they decide to stand still to see what's going on. Next thing you know, they're walking down the aisle. Next thing you know, they're sitting in the church. All you got to do is just invite them. If we can warm ourselves up by the enemy's fire, why can't people warm them up by God's fire? The wrong perspective. He thought too highly of himself, and he thought too little of the enemy. The wrong people. He wasn't with the 12. He wasn't with the disciples. He's by himself, isolated, surrounded by those who are against Christ. The wrong posture. When you find yourself with the wrong people, it has you to lead yourself to stopping, standing, and seating. But watch this. Even though he had a wrong perspective, even though he was with the wrong people, even though he had the wrong posture, watch this, he had the right relationship. I want to let you know, we need to fix our criminal justice system. So, and that's the issues I want to speak about as we begin to do to reignite our social justice tradition. But I like to do it in a different way, because some people need to be in jail. Okay? I mean, let me be, can I say it really? And it might be your nephew or your son. Some people do need to be in jail. And so, but some people do not need to be in jail. And so what you want to do is say, and what is the purpose of prison? Is it an industrial complex to make money? Or is it a rehabilitation place for us to rehabilitate people to leave from incarceration and come back and serve in the community? Now watch this. You can't have either. You got to have both of them. Because many of us can sit back in here and say that they shouldn't go to jail. But when they do go to jail, when they come back home, we don't want them living near us. We don't want them going to church with us. I'm serious. That we have sex offenders. And you know a sex offender can be an 18-year-old having sex with a 16-year-old. And now have to forever identify themselves in the community as a sex. Oh, y'all didn't hear what I said. Have 18 and 16 having consensual sex, and they are forever identified for the rest of their life as a sexual predator. But then you got people that put this country on the brink of the greatest destruction or recession since the Great Depression, and nobody went to jail. They don't have to identify themselves as thieves and crooks. So the point, what you want to do, I'm sorry, that was just me. I'm going to get to my text, I'm sorry. But what I want you to see is that's what punishment was in our household, in the household that you're talking about. In a real household, mama and daddy didn't have to use a switch. All it took was a look. I got somebody with me. I'm telling you what the Bible said. The Bible said, watch this, the girl identified him. There's some other people, the way he talked. You know, it's so funny. You can find yourself someplace and they will know you. You can pretend like they don't know you. And sometimes you pretending like y'all don't know each other. I'm going to say that for 11. Okay. You pretending. So here, watch this. Text says, Peter replied, man, I don't know what you're talking about. Just as he was speaking, the rooster crowed. The Lord turned and looked straight at Peter. Then Peter remembered the word the Lord had spoken to him. And he went outside and wept bitterly. In other words, watch this. When I was growing up in my household, by James and Gerthy Winston, Kansas City, Kansas, and my grandmother was the chairperson of the deaconess ministry. My grandfather was the chair of the deacons ministry. Watch this. Neither one of them could read. Yep. But they knew how to lead. And we would sit in the back of the church and clown. You know, you got a bunch of kids like to clown. But I said they sitting in the front. I'm all the way in the back. And all my grandmother had to do when she heard a little noise, because you know, the thing about kids is we can't be quiet when we start cutting up. Somebody always want to laugh just a little too loud. You want to just knock them out. But right when we're laughing too loud, my grandmother just turns around and looks. And that look scares the mess out of me. And I straighten up. And you know what I do? How I straighten up is I move from that seat and go to another situation. Because you ain't about to ruin my play date. You ain't about to ruin my Christmas. I'm trying to tell you, in other words, it's not for punishment, it's for correction. And we need to learn how to correct people. That's all right. That's what God does to Peter. He corrects him. Peter, you're in the wrong place. You need to get out of here. And all it takes is a look. Do you know when you see somebody going in a place that they're not supposed to go, I dare you to give them the eye and look at them. They know they're not supposed to be there. Told a young girl, it was the middle of the day. They hated me in Peekskill. Because pastor, you don't know, I don't have hours. I'm there when I'm there. I'm not when I'm not. So I'm driving around. It's 11 o'clock. Why ain't you in school? They're like, where do you come from? I'm a truant officer. 9 years old, you're not supposed to be in a grocery store. You're supposed to be in school. And watch this, all it takes is a look. And what we want to understand is, but you can't look at nobody if you're not in relationship with them. You can't help nobody unless you're in a relationship with them. And remember, our Bible here is written to those of us that call ourselves in a relationship. So let me be very, very clear to you. I'm not necessarily saying that you need to go out in the street and interfere in somebody's business. But I am saying is that once you are in this church, we now have a right to interfere in your business because you are now a part of the family. You hear what I'm saying? You ain't coming in here with sunglasses on, because I'm going to ask you who hit you. Y'all laughing. It's real. And I can't believe we're doing these workshops. Can you imagine? We got to do workshops on sensitivity training, on racism, on domestic abuse, on sex. Here's the point. But yet we want to come to the church and everybody put a mask on and then pretend like we can't do nothing about it. Yes, we can if we're in relationship with one another. Peter was in the wrong place. God didn't stop what he was doing to yell at Peter. He gave him a look because he remembered what he said. Do you know that God said some things to you and all he has to do is look and remind you? And sometimes those things aren't get out, but sometimes you are blessed and highly favored. That's the notion. You're too good for this situation. I taught you better than that. Do you know who you are? You are my son and my daughter. You need to rise up. You need to stand up. My children don't need to hang around the wrong fire. My children don't need to dance in order to have a house. My children, and watch this, here's this point. Look at this notion. I know I'm in Brooklyn. But if Beyonce has to curse, we're talking about domestic violence and they celebrating Jay-Z and Beyonce. And then and here we are, they getting mad, the preachers, because at the award ceremony, y'all remember the VMA, whatever MA awards those were, where Queen Latifah was deputized and she married some people, gay couples. People got all mad. Y'all might have been it. Y'all might have been mad. And you know what? You have a right to be mad. But I'm going to teach you how to be correct in your madness. Because you focused on that, you missed the real thing. What we celebrate as our pop icons. Jay-Z and Beyonce working out their own relationship on stage. But he says, eat the cake anime. That's a reference to Ike Turner and Tina Turner. You understand? So now you can sing about it, but you can't do it on the elevator. You see, I just shocked y'all. See, here we are. We're glorifying what people are singing about. They basically glorify domestic violence. Do you know, again, don't nobody else have to police their music? Nobody else. Country music ain't talking about rednecks and something like that. They ain't saying nothing like that. But we gotta lead a protest for the N-word. We gotta lead a protest, so we gotta quit calling our women bees and all of that stuff. Wow. But we're silent. You know why? Because we're not in relationship. And since we're not in relationship, we don't have a right to say anything to them. But I can to ask for me and my house. I take the opportunity to talk to my daughter. I take the opportunity to talk to my son and say that's unacceptable. Do you know what those lyrics are saying? And sometimes you hear pastors say them, and I stop short, like I don't finish the whole context. Because if you even just turn to any radio station, it beeps out everything. So when you try to get a song, a so-called clean song, I mean, it's bad. But so we need to be in relationship with this community, that we might be able to give them an eye as to what is acceptable or what is not acceptable. Other than that, the wrong fire, we might have a right fire in here, but have Brooklyn surrounded by a wrong fire. And eventually fire spreads, and that wrong fire will have a way of getting in here. That's the notion. And we are called to do something. We are. That's what we are, as sons and daughters of God. My desire was not to put you on your feet. My desire is to put you in the streets. to be able to witness and share the love of God. We need mothers now to start going into crack houses and claiming their sons and daughters back. Do you know you do? We do. We need mothers and fathers to go to strip clubs and start claiming their sons and daughters back again. That's what we have to do. We need to get mothers and fathers to go to Hollywood and start claiming back our sons and daughters. Every role in Hollywood is not a good role. Every song is not a good song. Every job is not a good job to have. We need to start going to casinos and pulling back our sons. In fact, we need somebody to look at us when we leave here and we decide to play the lottery. You complaining that you don't have money, you don't want to give money, but every $10 that you have, you in line. Huh? I know it. It happens. People, when I go into my spot, they go in there, they can't wait for me to leave so they can buy their tickets. I said, don't take that long to get coffee. So, a wrong fire has a wrong perspective, where you think too highly of yourself and you think too low of the enemy. A wrong perspective, a wrong fire has you surrounded by the wrong people. And when you're with the wrong people, it leads to a wrong posture. You begin to do the wrong thing. And the only way out is to have the right relationship. And if by chance there is somebody here, even online or watching right now, you are surrounded by a wrong fire, I want to invite you into a right relationship, not with me, but through Jesus Christ as your personal Savior. I announce to you that the doors of the church are open. In the event that there's a man or woman, boy or girl, who's never accepted Jesus Christ as their Lord and personal Savior, I invite you to come. You can come by letter.